This is a commercial jet penetrating a cumulonimbus weather system. It is entering an environment loaded with microscopic threats. As the aircraft pushes through the moisture, water freezes rapidly along the wing's leading edge. It builds outward, layer by layer, altering the geometry of the airfoil. Icing impacts flight performance through 3 simultaneous force adjustments. Look at the vectors. The ice adds weight, but it also destroys the aerodynamic profile, causing lift vectors to shrink and drag vectors to spike. For this specific threat to materialize, 3 non-negotiable thermodynamic conditions must be met. First, the aircraft must encounter visible liquid moisture in the atmosphere, usually in the form of clouds or precipitation. Second, the ambient air temperature must be below 0 degrees Celsius. Finally, the airframe itself must be chilled below 0 degrees Celsius. At high flight levels, the metal skin of the aircraft easily reaches these sub-zero temperatures. Predicting and surviving icing requires mastering the exact relationships between these ambient temperature bands, the size of the water droplets, and the specific cloud morphology outside the cockpit window. Liquid water in the atmosphere doesn't always freeze the moment it hits 0 degrees. Instead, it becomes supercooled. These droplets remain suspended in a liquid state despite sub-zero ambient temperatures. This scale breaks down the risk zones. Between 0 and -20 degrees, the atmosphere holds small and large supercooled droplets. Large droplets carry significant mass, creating the highest risk zone for severe icing. Below -20 degrees, they freeze into solid ice. Between -20 and -40 degrees, only small liquid droplets remain, shifting the threat primarily to light icing. Once we cross the -40 threshold, almost all atmospheric moisture has frozen completely into solid ice particles. Solid ice crystals simply do not adhere to a cold airframe. They just bounce harmlessly off the metal surface. Severe icing conditions effectively cease in this extreme cold. The ambient temperature strictly dictates the physical size of the liquid threat before a single droplet ever touches the wing. When those droplets do strike, the resulting ice takes specific forms. Clear ice is a glossy, transparent, and uniform layer. It is heavy and hard to remove. It forms when large, supercooled droplets hit the leading edge. Because of their massive size, they freeze slowly, flowing backward over the chord of the wing before fully solidifying. You will typically encounter clear ice in cumuloform clouds, like this cumulonimbus, between 0 and -20 degrees Celsius. Their powerful vertical updrafts are required to support the weight of those large droplets. Clear ice can also form in nimbostratus clouds, but in a much narrower temperature band, specifically between 0 and -10 degrees Celsius. Rime ice looks very different. It is milky, opaque, rough, and highly brittle. Its fragile structure makes it generally easier to break off using standard de-icing equipment. Rime ice builds when small, supercooled droplets hit the airframe and freeze instantaneously, rapidly forming a thick, opaque layer. This flash freezing process traps tiny air bubbles inside the ice structure, creating that milky appearance. This type of accretion happens primarily between -20 and -40 degrees. You'll find it in stratiform clouds, where stable, low-lift air produces only small droplets. In the transition zones, where temperatures allow both large and small droplets to coexist, you can get mixed ice. This is a dangerous combination of clear and rime characteristics. Hoarfrost is a unique anomaly. It forms through sublimation, as water vapor transitions directly into a crystalline solid, entirely bypassing the liquid phase. This happens when a cold airframe descends rapidly into a layer of warm, high-humidity air, or when an aircraft is parked outside on a clear, calm night and the metal cools below the frost point. Finally, rain ice is a severe, hard accumulation very similar to clear ice, specifically encountered when flying ahead of a warm front. The visual morphology of the ice on the airframe acts as a forensic signature. It tells you exactly what kind of cloud you are flying through and what temperature band you are navigating. Ice accretion on the leading edge actively spoils the engineered aerodynamic shape of the airfoil, forcing the air to separate from the surface. As lift drops, this rough, misshapen surface creates a massive increase in parasitic drag. The combination of increased wake, increased drag, and decreased lift leads to a severe increase in the aircraft's stalling speed, a core concept in the DGCA syllabus. To maintain altitude, a pilot must react by increasing the angle of attack and demanding higher engine power. This instantly triggers a spike in fuel consumption. The threat extends beyond the wing. Icing also chokes the aircraft's ability to generate thrust, starting with carburetor icing in piston engines. Inside a carburetor, air accelerating through a venturi tube to mix with fuel causes a rapid temperature drop of up to 20 degrees. This creates icing even in warm air, restricting airflow and causing a power-starving, oxygen-poor mixture. Turbine engines face a similar threat. Intake icing physically restricts the massive volume of air required by a jet engine, resulting in that same oxygen-starved power loss downstream in the combustion chamber. Even the fuel lines themselves are susceptible. Any microscopic water impurities in the fuel can freeze in sub-zero temperatures, blocking flow to the engine entirely. Icing is a compounding mechanical threat. It simultaneously destroys the aircraft's ability to fly and chokes the engines required to overcome that deficit. To survive these environments, aircraft utilize two distinct defensive systems. Anti-icing is designed to prevent ice from forming in the first place. De-icing, on the other hand, is meant to remove ice that has already accrued. Ground-based de-icing provides essential temporary protection before takeoff, ensuring the airframe is entirely clean before the takeoff roll begins. The chemical properties of this de-icing fluid do two things. They melt the existing ice upon contact, and they actively lower the freezing point of any remaining water on the airframe. Once airborne, strict operational protocols apply. Anti-icing systems must be switched on whenever an aircraft enters visible moisture at an ambient temperature of 10 degrees Celsius or lower. 10 degrees is well above freezing, but this threshold specifically accounts for aerodynamic wind chill and dynamic cooling as the aircraft moves rapidly through the air. These systems can generally be switched off when the outside air temperature drops below -40 degrees Celsius, as the atmospheric moisture has fully crystallized and no longer poses an accretion threat. Mastering these exact thermodynamic thresholds separates a reactive pilot from a proactive one. It satisfies both your DGCA examiners and the unforgiving laws of physics. For aviation students preparing for DGCA, CPL, or ATPL exams, mastering meteorology is non-negotiable. Subscribe to the Pilot Arnav channel for more rigorous syllabus-accurate breakdowns of aviation science. Airframe icing catastrophically destroys an aircraft's aerodynamic geometry and power generation. For ice to form on an aircraft, two absolute prerequisites must be met. First, the plane must be flying through visible liquid moisture, like rain or cloud droplets. Second, the temperature of that visible moisture, or the surface of the airframe itself, must be at or below 0 degrees Celsius. If the moisture in the atmosphere is already frozen into solid ice particles, it poses no immediate accretion threat. Frozen particles simply hit the fuselage and deflect away. But the ambient air doesn't even need to be strictly below zero. Because air accelerates as it passes over an airfoil, aerodynamic cooling can drop the wing's surface temperature below freezing, even when the surrounding air is a few degrees warmer. If you are preparing for your DGCA CPL or ATPL examinations, subscribe to the Pilot Arnav channel to master the meteorology and physics of these aviation hazards. To predict how ice will behave on an aircraft, we have to scale down. We need to look past the macro weather patterns and examine the microscopic thermodynamic physics of a single water droplet freezing upon impact. The behavior of ice on a wing is dictated by the latent heat of fusion. To melt 1 gram of ice into water, you must apply exactly 80 calories of heat energy. The thermodynamic reciprocal is also true. When 1 gram of supercooled liquid water strikes a wing and freezes into ice, it releases exactly 80 calories of heat onto the wing's surface. Large supercooled droplets, typically found at temperatures between 0 and -10 degrees Celsius, release a massive amount of latent heat upon impact. This concentrated burst of heat actually melts a portion of the droplet back into liquid. Forced backward by the intense airflow, this liquid portion creeps over the top and bottom of the wing before it fully freezes. This is the flowback mechanism. It leaves no room for trapped air, resulting in a dense, transparent layer known as clear ice. Contrast this with droplets encountered between -15 and -20 degrees Celsius. These are small supercooled droplets. When they strike the leading edge, they freeze instantly right at the point of impact. Because there is no flowback, the rapid freezing traps tiny air bubbles between the ice particles. This creates Rime Ice, a brittle, granular, and milky opaque structure. The size of the moisture droplet directly controls the thermodynamic heat release. Small droplets build a brittle, opaque layer of rime, while large droplets build dense, flowing clear ice that severely warps the airfoil. When an aircraft flies through a cloud containing both large and small supercooled droplets, usually between -10 and -15 degrees, the result is mixed ice, a simultaneous accretion of both clear and rime formations. The most severe form of accretion is freezing rain, or rain ice. This occurs when liquid rain falls out of warmer altitudes through an inversion layer, becoming severely supercooled as it passes into sub-zero air below. These are the largest supercooled droplets. Striking the cold fuselage, they trigger extreme flowback, rapidly coating the aircraft in a heavy, inescapable shell of clear ice. Hoarfrost is the exception to the visible moisture rule. It forms in completely clear air when a sub-zero airframe rapidly descends into a warm, moist layer, causing the ambient water vapor to bypass the liquid state and sublimate directly into ice crystals. Finally, packed snow is an exclusively ground-based hazard. It occurs when watery snow or sleet sticks to a cold aircraft parked on the ramp, freezing solidly against the surface. While ice takes these 6 distinct forms, the core survival skill for a pilot is mapping these formations to specific meteorological environments. Cumuliform clouds, late tumulus, and cumulonimbus generate aggressive vertical updrafts. This convective lift supports massive supercooled droplets, resulting in severe clear and mixed icing conditions. Within a cumulonimbus cloud, the highest concentration of heavy, dangerous droplets is located near the base of the cloud, where the ambient temperatures are warmest. For this reason, convective clouds situated in tropical latitudes or along the intertropical convergence zone during summer pose the absolute highest risk for severe clear icing encounters. Stratiform clouds, like stratus, lack those aggressive updrafts. They hold much smaller droplets, typically yielding light to moderate rime ice. But stratiform clouds possess an inversion of risk. Unlike cumulonimbus clouds, the highest moisture content in a stratus layer is found near the top of the cloud, where it is wettest. Nimbostratus clouds often present a broader threat of moderate to severe mixed or clear ice, whereas high-altitude cirrus clouds, composed mostly of ice crystals, present the least risk of accretion. A pilot uses a weather briefing to predict the micro-thermodynamics waiting inside a cloud based on its structure and base temperature. Once accretion begins, the aerodynamic penalty is immediate. The stall speed of a wing increases by up to 16% with the accumulation of just 1/8 of an inch of ice. Rapid accumulation forces the aircraft past its maximum gross weight and shifts the center of gravity, causing uncommanded pitch changes. Simultaneously, engine and induction systems begin to fail. Carburettor ice chokes off airflow to the engine, and a completely blocked induction filter forces a 10% power loss as the alternate air doors open. Ice also freezes over the pitot tube and static ports, blinding the aircraft sensors and feeding erroneous airspeed and altitude data directly into the cockpit. Icing triggers a multi-system failure. It simultaneously blindfolds the pilot, starves the engine, and strips the wing of its ability to fly. In an icing encounter, the immediate mechanical response requires activating pitot heat, carburetor heat, and cabin defrost. Pilots must also adjust the throttle to maximum RPM to leverage centrifugal force to shed accumulating propeller ice. But anti-ice systems only buy you time. The immediate flight path action is to execute a 180-degree turn to exit the cloud, or to descend into warmer air if terrain clearance permits. Climbing into sub-40-degree air to escape the moisture is a dangerous gamble. For a limited-power aircraft like a Cessna 172, the rapidly increasing weight and aerodynamic drag make a climb profile virtually impossible to sustain. If an aircraft is forced to land with a contaminated airframe, pilots face an aerodynamic paradox. They must execute their approach and landing with the wing flaps completely retracted. To understand why, look at the horizontal stabilizer. Because of its sharp leading edge, flowback ice accumulates rapidly on the tailplane, severely disrupting the laminar airflow and rendering it detached and turbulent. Deploying the main wing flaps changes the downwash angle of the air coming off the wing. This forces the turbulent air to strike the ice tailplane at a much steeper angle, pushing the horizontal stabilizer past its critical angle of attack. The result is an immediate tailplane stall. To recover, the pilot must do the exact opposite of standard wing stall training. They must pull the yoke back. This upward deflection reduces the tail's angle of attack, restoring its downward lift and raising the nose back to level flight. Surviving a tailplane stall requires overriding foundational muscle memory, a moment where aerodynamic theory dictates the physical response. This brings us to a frequent DGCA exam question. If you are flying in active icing conditions and you increase your airspeed, does the rate of icing increase or decrease? The rate of icing increases. A higher airspeed forces a significantly higher volume of supercooled water droplets to impact the airframe every single second. Avoiding disaster means taking control early. Map the visible moisture and temperature against your aircraft's physical limitations, and never hesitate to declare an emergency with air traffic control. To continue mastering aviation meteorology for your exams, subscribe to the Pilot Arnav channel. Leave any specific DGCA questions you have in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next flight.